Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be reacting to a video called First Time You Realized America Really Messed You Up, Part 6. So there's a lot of parts. I don't really know, like this is, referring to obviously like probably Americans that have probably like either lived abroad or probably have known at some point in their lives they got around people that are not from the United States, and I don't know, they realize all the problems that the United States have. I don't know, I'm guessing it's gonna be like pretty funny because that's usually the case, although hopefully it's not gonna be like way too sad because it's also like a pretty depressing situation if you take into account like what that entails. But I don't know, so let's check it out and comment, like, and subscribe.
If you're an American currently living abroad, what is one time that made you realize that America really messed you up?
I got one. I moved to Italy about a month ago, and my roommate is from Spain, and we were talking about things to do outside since the weather was getting nicer, like rent bikes, take walks, and she said we should have a shooting. And I said, a what?
Oh no.
She said, a shooting. Like, let's go have a shooting. I was like, and she was like, yeah, like, let's go get dressed up and take some cute pictures by like the canals or something. Pictures.
Yeah, a photo shoot.
In the US, I could not let my 11-year-old son go outside and play by himself. Someone would call the cops or something would legitimately happen to him, and so there was no way. And when I moved to Germany, my husband, who's a German national, suggested that he go outside and play by himself because
like, no,
we would not have to worry.
I'm not living.
I think that depends a little bit. I think there are some places. I don't know if the whole Europe is like that. Actually, I think it depends because I think if you live in a big city, like where are they gonna play? Like they're just like it's a street, so there's no place. Although obviously, if you live like on the outskirts of certain cities or in certain like specific towns, you can do that. Although I don't really know how. I think it just depends on the person as well because some people, I don't know. I don't know if I would leave my child to just play on I don't know, my hypothetical child. I play because it's like I'm scared. What would happen if something, I don't know, something can go wrong. So I don't know. Not fit for people that have anxiety, but I don't know.
Abroad anymore, but I was from 2010 to 2011. I was living in Uppsala, Sweden, which is like about 45 minutes north of Stockholm. And this was before any major civil unrest was happening in the country or Trump or anything. This was like 10 years ago. I was out with friends and we started talking about how this Swedish girl happened to have cancer and how it's completely taken care of by their government. All of her health care, all of her bills are paid for. The odds are that she will definitely get over cancer. So I go up to my two friends, one from Australia, one from Canada, and I say, oh my God, you guys, did you hear? She has cancer and the government's completely taking care of all of her bills. Isn't that amazing? Like, oh my God. And then my friends replied, Sabrin, you realize that you are the weird ones. Americans are the only ones that don't have that program. That was the first of many moments where I was embarrassed to be an American.
It's not
that one's a little bit sad. Obviously, the situation is sad in general, but it's crazy to me that she, like, it took into, like, take this to happen for you to realize that the United States is the weird one. Like, that's the outlier. Like, not that all countries do actually take care of, like, they have, like, great healthcare, but that's like, the baseline. The baseline is that one. So it is kind of crazy that it took this for you to realize that you guys are the weird ones. It's mind-blowing.
Current, but when I was studying in the UK, one day I really needed to see a doctor, but I didn't know how to access care. I didn't know what my insurance situation was like, so I just went to work. And eventually I was in so much pain that I burst into tears and my boss pulled me aside and he was like, what's up? And I was like, I really need to see a doctor, but I don't know how to access care here. I don't know if I can afford it. And he was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Go down the street to the hospital. And I argued with him and he was like, no, just trust me, just go to the hospital. Yeah. So I went and I was like clutching my like student ID in my hand.
And she's like, I don't know if I can afford it. The guy was like, oh my God, please get help.
My passport, and I was like trying to remember how much I had in my bank account, like checking. And I got called back to the doctor. He was like, yep, this is what's wrong with you. Pick up your prescription on the way out. And I was like, I'm sorry, do you know how much it's gonna be? And he said, I don't know, maybe 8 pounds. I was like, I'm sorry, 8? He was like, yeah, I don't think it's ever more than that. The receptionist kept laughing at me because I didn't feel comfortable leaving without paying somebody, and I kept asking if I owed anybody any money.
So I don't live in Europe, but I was visiting relatives.
Actually, that's funny because otherwise you can just like I can leave. Like I can have debt and I can just leave this country and no one will know. I mean, not that this is the case, but you can think that. It's like, who cares? I'm just gonna leave anyway.
I was in the UK a couple of years ago and my inhaler got destroyed. They convinced me to talk to the pharmacist first before seeing a doctor in case I didn't need to. And the pharmacist said, yes, of course, we can refill this for you. No problem. It's a life-saving medication. And I'm like, great. And the pharmacist says, I did want to warn you, though. I'm very sorry. The price has gone up. And I'm just thinking the worst. And he says, yes, I'm very sorry. It's going to be £8.80. I said, £8.80. And he said, yeah, it's going to be £8.80. I'm really sorry. The prices just keep going up. And that is when I realized that the U.S. health insurance system is well and truly because that £8.80 prescription in the UK,
never in the US,
with really good health insurance costs me $50 per inhaler in the United States for a medication I need to literally live. So yeah.
Buckle up, kids, this one's gonna hurt. So I just moved to Italy with my boyfriend who is Italian. Going through all of his old paperwork today, and he showed me a bill from the hospital when he cut his hand open pretty badly and had to get stitches. It cost €4, which is the equivalent of $4.50. I am back for round 2 on this one. So I just moved to Italy with my boyfriend who is Italian. We're watching a movie the other day where somebody is running away and they get shot. And I'm like, you know what? That's their fault. They didn't run in a zigzag. That's like the first thing they teach you, to run in a zigzag if somebody's pointing a gun at you.
No.
He pauses the movie and he looks at me and he goes,
what?
Who taught you that? And I'm like, you know, like teachers, adults, parents, like they teach you when you're young to run in a zigzag if somebody is pointing a gun at you.
Only in the
United States. The sinking feeling I had when I realized that nobody ever had to teach him that when he was young.
No.
Because that's not a problem here.
So another thing
that's the one that I think it's only in the United States. That doesn't happen. I don't think it happens anywhere else in the world. It's just there.
That I think about a lot is I have German friends, Dutch friends, Polish friends, and they all went on class trips to concentration camps when they were like 8 years old. Whereas in the US, I never learned anything about the Native Americans, like what really happened, until I took a Native American studies class in college.
Oh, no.
They are sitting there learning about, and they like use the word genocide. They tell them we committed genocide against the Jews here in Europe. And in the US, they're like, natives helped us move onto their land and they just kind of moved away so we could settle. And they don't teach us anything about the Dawes Act. They don't teach us anything about the Stolen Sisters. They don't teach us anything about...
I think that's also like I think it depends again. In the United States, I don't think that's ever. No one's gonna ever teach you that. But I think there are other countries with like darker histories where that tends to be the case. Sadly, like they don't really teach like in school. Obviously, when you're like in college, I think it's a bit different. Like he said, if you take like a particular studies class. But I think in general, there are some countries that really do sort of like sweep it under the rug, or they don't really go into much detail because obviously they're children. So it is a little bit of like, oh, when you're an adult, is that you actually start thinking about it, and you're like, wait, I don't think that happened as I was told, because they're like, oh well, it's kids, so you shouldn't actually like tell them the real truth or like use harsher like language. But I'm surprised they actually take their kids into like concentration camps. That's surprising to me.
How Columbus wiped out an entire island in the Caribbean, and like they don't teach us about the smallpox blankets and the cholera and everything at all.
Yeah.
So I'm from Chicago and I moved to Denmark when I was like 14, and I've been in public school ever since I moved here. And I remember this one time I was with my friends, and this was probably like the first 6 months of my first year at school here. And I was just like, we haven't had an intruder drill yet. Like, when are we gonna have one of those? And they were just like, what is an intruder drill? What is that? And I had to like explain, like, it's like you're practicing in case someone comes in the school to come like shoot or something. Yeah. And they're just like,
what on earth?
We do not do that here. There is no threat of people coming to kill us. And then I was like, oh yeah, I don't have to be like scared for my life at school in this country. Forgot about that.
You were like, what?
I was living abroad in the UK, and I had a job interview. And of course, growing up in the US, you're conditioned to dress so professional, be prepared, have your resume. and all these things. So I was like that really much. And I remember walking into the interview and they were like, oh, well, you look really snazzy. And I was like, okay, that first of all, I've never heard that before at an interview. Then secondly, they didn't even ask me anything besides, hey, Kyle, would you like a cup of tea? And I was like, okay. Never was asked that before ever in any other job interviews. We had a tea and we literally like sat.
To be fair, I don't think you're gonna get asked if you want to have tea anywhere else in the world except for the UK. I think it's such a like British thing of like, hey, want some tea?
And talked about all sorts of stuff, personal life, their life, and we just had a laugh for like 45 minutes. And right afterwards, they're like, you're perfect for the job. You fit great. And it was really crazy to me, and it was a really fun experience. I wish the US would just chill out sometimes a little bit more.
True, although I'm guessing like they had to check like their qualifications like beforehand, and this is just like a feel out interview to see like you're not a psychopath and you would actually be a great fit because of your personality. But like as for the qualifications, probably they had already gone through that.
All right, so when I lived in France, I went to a cafe with my friend, and outside the cafe there were a whole bunch of baby strollers with human babies inside of the strollers, and I was super freaked out, and I asked my friend, why would anybody leave their babies outside unattended in their strollers? Aren't you afraid?
Oh, wait, it's just like random babies like on strollers in the middle of the street? I don't think I've seen that before.
Afraid of something happening to them? And my friend looked at me and said, why would you assume that anything would happen to a baby? Who would be so horrible to do something to a baby?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm with them. Again, I wouldn't leave like a baby on a stroller in the middle of the street. Apparently that's normal in France. I don't know, like, it's just, like, a thing about, like, I'm sorry, I couldn't. It's just, not because I think, like, again, maybe it's, like, it's fine, no, nothing's gonna happen. But I would be like, no, what if something happens? I don't know, and what about the cold? Maybe it was during the summer. I don't know, what would you do, like, bring a stroller to, like, the restaurant or something? I'm confused by this situation.
On the tram, again, in Warsaw, and I saw this guy kind of being sketchy and acting weird in the last seat. And I kept eyeing him the whole time, and he had his jacket open, and he was holding something inside, he was hiding it. And I thought, my first American thought was it's a gun or a knife or some kind of weapon and I need to move away as soon as possible. So I kept looking at him the whole ride, and then he takes it out and it was a beer can. He was sipping it and hiding it during the tram ride. That's what happens in Poland. Not guns, not knives. And I started crying and laughing at the same time because that's when I realized, wow, that's messed up.
Yeah, it's a flight or fight response.
I did this TikTok about a year ago, and I still stand by the fact that, like, we're significantly dumber in the States. School's a lot different here, but they learn so much more about life and things around us than we ever did. But another thing that I've noticed is people are so dependent in the States, especially, like, parents, I think, are more dependent and, like, feel the need to be in their child's lives more. Here, I'm sure they're great parents. I mean, 90% of the kids are super good, but, like, fourth graders are getting on the tram in the morning. Their parents are kissing them bye, saying peace out. Not the school bus, the tram.
Oh,
and
like
you know what? At night, they get back on the tram and they figure out their way home. Like, the parents are not as, like, involved in the kids' lives, and they're so independent. But even, like at home in the States, even me, who's almost 20 years old, like, I'm still dependent on my mom.
Okay, so okay, hold on. Hopefully not to get into the train or the bus at 20, but I'm not judging. I think it's more like helicopter parenting, maybe what she means. And again, it just depends on the person. Like, some people are like very helicopter parents, even like in Europe, because again, it depends on personality. But I get what she means is like people are less a little bit scared of like leaving your teen or your preteen kid like at 10, 11, I don't know like how old it's like someone big enough to actually like ride a school bus on their own, or take the train, or take another bus, or take the subway. I think it just like depends, but because the city is so safe and you maybe like get less worries, it's like okay, like you're 12, you can like go on your own, it's okay, like I don't need to like pick you up places. And also that's a really important thing as well, because I think in the US, because there's like no public transport usually, you constantly have to pick up your children because they're not, they can't walk and they can't, like, there's no public transport. So you have to constantly be like, hey mom, can you pick me up? Like, it's just, or your dad or whatever. So it's always constantly, you have to depend on your parents to like get you places. And in Europe, because again, it's like more, they have public transport, they have subways, they have trains, they have other things, or they can walk. It's like, it's okay. You can get home on your own. You don't need to call your parents like, hey, I'm stranded. Someone please pick me up?
To Sweden. And when I got here, I wasn't feeling too well, so I went to the doctor, and the doctor recommended that I get an EKG, an electrocardiogram. Instead of worrying about my health, my first reaction was, I'm
Money.
sorry, I don't know if I can get one of those because I don't know if I'm going to be able to afford it.
Yeah.
And this sweet little man, this sweet, amazing doctor goes, did you not pay the, like, $20 when you got here? I ended up getting a regular EKG, a 24-hour-long EKG, a blood test, and a freaking checkup for $20! Best part of this entire situation is that I am getting better and I am getting the medical attention I need without going broke.
I that was a little confusing to me, the $20, because the $20, like, it was just like the price of the, like, that was the fee of the doctor, or it was some sort of insurance that I'm not aware of, and you have to like pay it, like everyone pays it, and then like you're covered, or is it just like, no, it's okay, you have to like pay the consultation, maybe pay the visit, and everything's covered there? I don't know, and I don't know why it's $20. Like that was a very specific amount, but obviously it's crazy. Like I don't think there's other. I didn't catch. I think it was Sweden. But I don't know how it works in other places. Again, $20 is just like an incredibly cheap amount to, you know, not just healthcare, but again, because it's not just like the visit, like the doctor's visit, like she got like an EKG, like she got tests, and also I think like she got like 4 tests. $20 is like an incredibly cheap amount to actually like for you to actually like do all these things. I don't know if all the other places and all the other cities in the world are like that. I think like that tells me that this country has like exceptional healthcare. And that's sadly that's not the norm. Like even I don't know if all Europe is like that. I mean, I would guess yes, but maybe some other countries are not, because again it tends to be like a little expensive. Not just obviously you have like good insurance, which you know the United States cannot say that, but and it's always going to be cheaper than in the US. However, I don't know if it's going to be always that cheap in every single city or in every single country like in Europe, because I don't really know. If that's the case, oh my god, incredible. I think they're probably like they're one of the few, well, you know, you say like, well, all Europe is like what, 40 countries? So, you know, compared to the rest of the world, I don't know how, like, what percentage actually that is. But I don't think, like, they're the outliers, sadly. Like, it shouldn't be like that, because obviously healthcare should be obviously universal. But it is kind of like a sad situation of, like, wow, it's incredible. Like, you can actually get all those things done, like, like, it's cheap. It's, like, so cheap. So, you know, on one hand, incredible. But this was all, again, it was funny, but also, again, kind of sad. It's funny, you know, it says in the title, like they're aware that it's messed up. Like one of the women was like, I was kind of like crying, because it was like, wow, I can't believe that I have like that mentality of like everyone's out to like hurt me. And again, maybe that can depend on the person as well. But I think usually like Americans are more of like, you have that sort of like thing. Everyone's out to get me. Like I have to be always like on the defensive, because again, like again with the strollers, it's like something can happen to the baby, or if I'm at school, like there's shooters. Obviously, it's with good reason, because again, like history has taught us that they're with like it's okay. Like they're not being paranoid. It's a reality, and obviously that's their reality over there. But it is sad. It's like, oh my god, imagine having to live like that. I mean, it's good that they're sort of like breaking out of this sort of like mold, and they're like, wow, not every country lives in the way that the US has. Because again, the US, it's good. Like there are good things, but obviously when it comes to like this kind of things, I think most people were like healthcare and yeah, over the board, I think the healthcare and the shootings, like everything's just safer in general, because obviously they have like stricter like gun laws. So I think all can boil down to the gun laws, because not everyone carries a gun, so you have less of that. Oh my god, like anyone can just grab a gun and shoot at us at every single moment. And again, and the healthcare system. I think those were like the commonalities out of like everyone that spoke of their experience. And again, it's like, what a sad thing, because it's like both things can actually, you know, they're dangerous at the end of the day, and they really do improve like your quality of life, because obviously if you don't have that mentality of like everyone, you know, anyone, especially like for children, which it's such a scary thing, because I think in other places of the world, you know, children live their lives normally, and usually, again, because it's a kid, like you want them to be as safe as possible. Like remember when you were a kid, and there's like this sense of security, and because again, you rely on your parents a lot, because obviously you're a child, and maybe on your school teachers, but there's like a sense of safety that all children should have, because you shouldn't really have to worry about other things that maybe as an adult you absolutely have to worry about, but you kind of like want to shelter children from that, because you know it's gonna, like, the time is gonna come for you to like worry about like so many things when you're older. So usually that tends to be the case, that parents want to like protect their children, and that's the reality for I think a lot of like countries in the world. But in the US, it's sad that you can't do that. Like children cannot feel safe because they're constantly taught of like, hey, you know, if a shooter comes by, like this is what you have to do. They are being taught of like you have to hide like how to hide like in the classroom. And again, it's such a sad thing, because like again, children should just like be kids, and you shouldn't have to worry about those things. So it's kind of like sad that they have like that mentality and sort of like drilled into them since they are as young as like 3 or 4 years old, because sadly that's the reality, and you never know what can happen. I think other places is more common to have drills of like like a fire drill, or maybe like tornadoes, or maybe just like some sort of natural disaster. Like they teach you like in school how to like deal with earthquakes, or again like earthquakes I think is probably the most common, because it's something that can happen suddenly. So probably like again, but those are like things out of your control, because you know it can happen. So they teach you like what you need to do like the earth shakes, or you know if there's a fire. But you know it's sad that they are like, no, it's about someone else coming, and obviously something that's not. It's out of your control, but it's other people that are actually trying to be harmful to you, which is like a very sad thing. And again, it's like it makes you a little bit paranoid maybe. And again, that was what the woman was like. There's this man and he has a gun. It's like, no, he just had a beer can, and he was always like trying to hide it because it's illegal. Probably it's illegal to just like drink on the public transport. But it's sort of like harmless, obviously, compared to like stuff like this. So it is kind of like sad, and it's a little bit, what a bummer. Like good for them to realize that there's something else beyond this, but at the same time it makes you like think, wow, the United States has like really messed up things. That's all I'm gonna say. But that was it for today, and I'll see you soon. Bye.